Dear students, welcome to problem solving class. I am very happy with the overwhelming response of yours for this class as so many of you asked your problems. I am happy that you are so much interested in understanding chemistry. So many of you asked about isotope once again. That's why first we'll start with isotopes. Definition you are already told, atoms of same element having same atomic number but different mass number are said to be isotopes. Let's understand. We understand with the help of example of isotopes of hydrogen. These three are isotopes of hydrogen. First one is normal hydrogen, also called protium. Second one is deuterium. Third one is tritium. So as they are isotopes but they are atoms of same element, it means they are having same atomic number, because atoms of same element always have same atomic number. So atomic number for all the three isotopes is 1, and atomic number means number of protons. So each of the atom, this one is of protium, this is of deuterium, this is of tritium, all are having one red dot in the nucleus that represent one proton. And as there is an atom, so atoms are neutral by nature, it means they will have same number of electron as well. So one electron in the only orbit in all the three isotopes. So same number of protons, same number of electron. Then what is different? Difference is in the number of neutrons. The first one of protium, also called normal hydrogen, and is represented as 1H1 because below 1 is atomic number, above 1 is mass number. Atomic number 1 because 1 proton, mass number also 1 because there is only 1 nucleon in the nucleus. Come to second isotope, deuterium. Its atomic number is 1 because it has 1 proton and 1 electron as well, but its mass number is 2. Why? Because it has 1 neutron as well in the nucleus. Due to 1 neutron in the nucleus, now total number of nucleon is 2. So its mass number has become 2, but atomic number is 1. So it is represented as 1H2. Whereas the third one of the tritium is having same 1 proton and 1 electron, but number of neutrons are different. How many? 2 neutrons. So total number of nucleon has become 3. 1 proton and 2 neutron. Therefore, it is represented as 1H3. Means atomic number 1 and mass number 3. Someone asked the question that why these isotopes are not shown in the periodic table. I mean, in the periodic table you have seen only one place for hydrogen and not for deuterium and tritium, for the same reason that periodic table is made on the basis of atomic number, because one atomic number belongs to one element. So as periodic table is made on the basis of atomic number, therefore there is no different places for three isotopes of hydrogen. Same about isotope of other elements like carbon, oxygen, etc. or chlorine. There are number of elements, not all but a few, which have isotopes, but they are given only one place in the periodic table because their atomic number is same. Isotopes have same atomic number, only mass number is different, and mass number is not the criteria for giving a place in periodic table. Mass number brings only change in some of the physical properties. That is the answer of a third question someone has asked. So isotopes are having similar physical and chemical properties, but there can be a slight difference in the physical property. Someone of you have also asked that which of the isotope is most active. I will say that chemically all the three are same. But for some physical properties, the deuterium and tritium can be comparatively less active because of mass. Just like you can think them to be little fatty or obese because of the more mass, but otherwise Chemically, all the three are equally active. Physical properties are different due to different mass number. Chemical properties are same due to same atomic number. I hope you understood. Let's come to what are alpha particles. 3-4 of you have asked what are alpha particles. Alpha particles, I understand, you read in the experiment of Rutherford, where gold foil was bombarded by alpha particles coming out from a radioactive substance. So one thing you must have understood if you heard with care the video, that alpha rays or alpha particles come out of the radioactive substances. So let's understand what are radioactive substances. Radioactive elements or substances are those which give out certain rays out of them on their own without any effort from our side. Those elements which are not radioactive, they are normal elements. Because normal elements are stable, but radioactive elements are not stable. They give out radioactive rays out of their nucleus and in the process become a different substance. Anyway, we talk about alpha particles. Alpha particles which come out of certain radioactive substances are made up of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. So sometimes alpha is represented as +2 alpha 4. 4 is the mass and +2 is the charge due to 2 protons. Alpha particle is not neutral like an atom. It is having 2 proton and 2 neutron. Neutrons are neutral. So obviously alpha particles have 2 unit positive charge and 4 unit mass because of 4 nucleon, and it does not have electron. It has only, so we can understand it similar to be nucleus of helium. Children, you know that atomic number of helium, the noble gas, is 2 and its mass number is 4. So we represent helium as 2He4. 2 for atomic number, 4 for mass number. So helium has 2 proton, 2 neutron and 2 electrons. If we take away the 2 electron from the helium atom, then what is left behind will be what? Helium nucleus. So sometimes we say that alpha particles are actually helium nuclei. Nuclei is the plural of nucleus. It means alpha particles are similar to nucleus of helium because they possess 2 proton and 2 neutron but no electron. Let's come to, one more question was asked, that why in Rutherford experiment gold foil was used. Gold foil is used because gold is one of the most malleable metal, and we wanted to have a very thin foil of metal because we wanted to check that alpha particles pass without any problem, without any interruption by anything from the atom according to Thomson's model. Rutherford did the experiment to just check if Thomson's plum pudding model was correct. And by the observation, he reached on the conclusion that no, Thomson's model is not correct because positive charge is not distributed same throughout, but it should be present in the center of atom at one place. Now, what are cathode and anode rays made up of? This is the question of one of the child, rather of 2 children, cathode rays and anode rays. So for your information, cathode and anode rays you read in the experiment of William Crookes, in which he passed electric current or electric discharge to gases at very low pressure. So when high voltage current is passed through the discharge tube, when very less pressure of gas is there, so you can understand very less pressure means very little gas is left. Very little gas is left, 0.01 millimeter mercury, it means hardly few molecules of gas are there. So at that high voltage, electrons are pulled out of their atom, and those electrons only move towards the anode and appear to be coming out of cathode. That's why it is called to be cathode rays, and this cathode rays is actually beam of electrons. And from where those electrons came? Those electrons came out of the nucleus of atoms of gas present in the discharge tube. So what are anode rays? Anode rays is leftover atom, means nucleus of atom. Which atom? Gaseous atom present in the discharge tube of William Crookes experiment. So when electrons are pulled out of the atom, then their nuclei, because of being positively charged, just like we discussed that nucleus of helium is positively charged, that is alpha particles, in the same way nucleus of gas also will be positively charged, because it will have only protons and neutrons. Neutrons have no charge and protons have positive charge. So anode rays are positive charge because they are made of nuclei of the gas present in the discharge tube. Someone also asked that why anode rays have different property. Different property means they are E upon m. E upon m means charge upon mass. Charge upon mass of cathode rays comes same, because all cathode rays, whatever gas is taken, is made up of electron only. But when we do experiment with different gases, then anode rays are having nuclei of different gases having different number of proton and neutrons. So in case of hydrogen, it has only proton. So E upon m means charge upon mass will be different for hydrogen. In case of suppose helium gas, then it has 2 proton but mass of 4 proton means 4 nucleon. So E upon m will be different if you want to understand it. Otherwise don't go to this complexity, but understand that cathode rays are made up of electron and anode rays are made up of nuclei of gas present in the discharge tube. Now the last question which I am dealing in this video is, what are valence shell and how to determine valency on the basis of valence shell. So children, valence shell is the last shell if we start counting from the side of nucleus. Let's see. This is the nucleus of a gas having not gas, any element, proton and neutron. Now suppose it has only one orbit or shell, then its only first shell only is the valence shell. But if it has 2 shell, then number will be 1 and 2. So second shell will be the valence shell. Suppose an atom is having 3 shells, then numbering starts from near to nucleus 1, 2, 3. So third shell will be the valence shell. If it has 4, then fourth shell will be the valence shell. So valence shell is the outermost shell of any atom. And how to determine valency on the basis of valence shell? No, we cannot determine valency on the basis of valence shell, but we actually determine valency on the basis of valence electrons, means electrons present in the valence shell. So suppose valence shell is having 1 electron, then its valency is also 1. So we write like this: valence electrons and here valency. If valence electrons are 2, then valency is 2. If valence electrons are 3, then valency is 3. Why so? Because elements with 1, 2 and 3 electron give away their electron to some other element for getting a configuration like noble gas, for which all the reactions are done. So the valency will be same. But if electrons are more than 3, like 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8, then what happens? If it has 4 electrons, then either it will gain 4 electron by sharing or by donation. So valency of it, the valency is determined by the need of the electron. So if there are 4 electrons, it needs how many more electrons? 4 electrons. So its valency will be 8 minus 4, that is 4. If an element has 5 electrons, then it will not donate 5 electrons. Rather, it will get 3 electrons, either by sharing or from some element which donates electron. So it needs 3 electrons, therefore its valency is 8 minus 5, that is 3. If it has 6 electrons, I give example. Nitrogen has 5 electrons in our outermost shell, therefore its valency is 3. You know about the nitride ion, and minus 3, its valency is 3 because it gained 3 electrons from some element. Then 6 electron, if it is 6 electron like oxygen, then it has 2 ways to gain 2 electron. 8 minus 6, 2 electrons are needed by it. It will either share 2 electron to gain 2 more, or it gets from some other element, but the valency both the ways will be 2. If it has 7, then how many electron it needs? 8 minus 7, that is 1. And if it has 8 electron, then it needs no electron. Therefore, elements with 8 electron have 0 valency. It means the outermost shell can have maximum 8 electron only, as in noble gases like neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. All these noble gases have 8 electron in their valence shell. And all other elements try to make it 8 for them by giving or taking or share. So if element has only 1, 2 or 3 electron, then it cannot get 7 or 6 or 5 more electron, because maximum valency shown by any atom is only 4. So as they cannot get so many electrons, so they give away their electron. Therefore, metals which have 1, 2 or 3 electron in the outermost shell, they always donate electron, and their valency is same as number of valence electron. But there are 2 exceptions. Some children have asked about helium. Actually, many have asked about the helium, that if helium has 2 electrons, then why its valency is not 2? So the answer is that though it has 2 electrons only, but it has 2 electrons in its first shell, and first shell can have only 2 electrons. It means its valence shell is completely filled. Valence shell can have 8 electrons if it is not first shell, but valence shell can have only 2 electrons if it is first shell, because it cannot go against 2n square rule. I have explained in previous videos as well. So as there are 2 exceptions, one is of hydrogen, that hydrogen has 1 electron and it gives away 1 electron. No, hydrogen is not an exception, it's okay, it has 1 valency only, but hydrogen just doesn't give electron. It is exception because metals always give their 1 electron, but hydrogen can give as well and share as well, because hydrogen is not a metal, it is a non-metal. Being non-metal, it is an exception for 1 electron, because all the metals like sodium, potassium, they give away their 1 electron and become positively charged. Hydrogen can do both. It can give its electron as well as share 1 electron. And helium is exception from this point of view, that helium has 2 electrons, but its valency is not 2 because its valence shell is full. So just like neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon which have 8 electrons in their valence shell, helium is also a noble gas, because just like other noble gases, its valence shell, which happen to be first shell, is also completely filled. So children, that was all about how to determine valency on the basis of valence electron. If valence electron are between 1 to 3, then valency is same as number of valence electron. But if valence electrons are 4 to 8, then valency is 8 minus valence electrons. 8 minus valence electrons. That's all for this video.